Hey guys, tonight we crack open a book you weren't supposed to find. You're in a dusty attic, crouched beneath a slope ceiling that groans with the wind. Your fingers trail over cobwebs and long-forgotten relics, until you hit it, something hard. Heavy. Leather-bound, with no title on the cover. The spine is cracked, the pages bloated with age. You pull it into the light, and feel your skin prickle as something ancient stirs beneath your fingertips. It's called The Book of How to Get Rid of Ghosts in the House, and it was published in 1491. Yes, before Columbus even set sail, before Henry VIII had his midlife crisis, before we knew what germs were. You open it, and the first thing you see isn't an introduction, it's a warning. Scrawled in a different hand than the rest. Something desperate. Something shaking. You squint to read. Do not trust what the book tells you to do after midnight. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop your location and local time in the comments. It's always fun seeing who else is listening in the dark with you. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You sit cross-legged on the attic floor, the book across your lap. Its leather is cool against your skin, like it remembers being touched by colder hands. The first few pages are stiff, stuck together with age, or something else you don't want to guess. But eventually they yield. The first chapter is written in precise Latin, but the margins contain scratchy English notes, probably added centuries later. You recognize just enough to piece it together. This isn't a normal ghost manual. This is intimate, practical, obsessive. It was made by someone who didn't just study spirits, they lived with them. Someone who probably didn't survive them. You turn to a page labeled, Of Entry and Invitation. The ink here glistens slightly in the light. Newer than the rest. A house must invite, and then it must regret. It reads, To close the threshold, begin with salt, chalk, soot, and 1 drop of blood. You blink. Did it just say your salt lines you can understand? That's folklore 101. But chalk? Soot? The recipe feels like a joke until you glance at the footnote. If the soot is not from your own hearth, the ghost will take offense. Comforting. You don't have a hearth. You have a microwave. Still, curiosity wins. You gather what you can. Table salt. Some old charcoal from the barbecue pit. White chalk from the junk drawer. And after 10 minutes of arguing with your own squeamishness, a pinprick of blood from your thumb. You draw a line across your bedroom threshold, just like the diagram says. The line sizzles slightly as you finish. You freeze. That wasn't in the instructions. Later, lying in bed, you notice something small. Subtle. Your door, which never quite stays shut, is now firmly closed. You didn't close it. And when you open it again, the salt line is gone. Gone. Not smudged. Not blown away. Just not there. Historians still argue whether books like these were genuine grimoires passed among those who dealt in the occult, or whether they were elaborate scare tactics, tales written to warn, not instruct. But this one doesn't feel like fiction. It's too detailed. Too interactive. It wants something from you. One of the margins reads, If the ink runs uphill, stop reading. You stare at it long enough to make sure. It doesn't. Yet. Another page describes the ghost tide, an old belief from the 15th century that ghosts are strongest not on Halloween, but in March, when snow melts and reveals bones beneath the thaw. You look at your calendar. It's March. Naturally. As you leave further in, you notice each chapter ends with a question. Not written but implied. One asks, Are you still alone in the room? You pause, suddenly hyper-aware of the creak of old wood above you. The low hum of the fridge downstairs. The sound of breathing? No. Just the wind. Probably. You close the book for the night, but it doesn't feel closed. It radiates heat now. Or maybe that's just your hand trembling. You tuck it under your bed. You hear the faintest tap from beneath the mattress about 10 minutes later. Like a knuckle brushing wood. Maybe it slipped. Maybe it didn't. Oh, and one last thing. The inside cover has an ownership mark, half faded, but still legible. Property of H.G. Nothing more. There's no author listed anywhere. You'll find out why soon enough. You wake up at 3:14 a.m., and you know it's exactly that time because your eyes snap open just in time to see your alarm clock glitch, just once, before returning to normal. The red digits flash 3:14, 3:14, 3:14, as if daring you to go back to sleep. But you can't. Because the air feels off. Not cold, exactly. Just wrong. You listen. The house is quiet, but there's that same tap from under the bed again. A light, deliberate knuckle rap, just once. Then silence. You lie perfectly still, pretending you didn't hear it. After all, this is what you signed up for. You open the book. Eventually, the sky outside goes pale. The tension in the room breaks like a held breath. You sit up and reach for the book again. The second section is messier, ink-blotted, parchment warped. Like it was added in haste. At the top of the page, on spirits that dwell in walls. Below it, a diagram of a house, but not just any house. It looks oddly familiar. Same layout as yours? You trace the inked halls with your finger. Living room. Kitchen. Stairwell. Then, in the corner, something you don't recognize. A tiny black square labeled simply, hollow. You glance toward your own wall, that same corner. Nothing there but drywall and a crooked painting. The next paragraph explains, all homes acquire spirits with time. Some are born from pain. Others arrive hungry. If your house creaks in rhythm, it has a name. You freeze. You listen. The wall next to you gives a long, slow groan, just once. Maybe just settling. But now you're not so sure. The book says the first ghosts don't come as apparitions. They come as leaks. Mold. Warped floorboards. Things that rot without cause. You flip to the next page and find a test. Place a silver coin between the wall and the floorboard. If it turns black, the wall is not alone. You dig through drawers for change. Nickel? No. Quarter? Not pure enough. Eventually, you remember your grandpa's old silver dollar, tucked in a jewelry box. You slide it into the crack between your wall and the baseboard. Then you wait. 3 minutes. 5. On the 6th, it slides back out. By itself. It's still silver, but warm to the touch. You whisper to yourself that you imagined it, but the page's margin reads, if it returns warm, something has taken interest in you. Below that, a single scratched word. Speak. You do the only rational thing. You knock once on the wall. Pause. Knock again. Then, 2 soft knocks echo back. You jump away like the wall bit you. Historians still argue whether knocking rituals came from medieval seance practices or if they were borrowed from older, pagan traditions. Either way, the pattern was always the same: knock, listen, answer. 3 exchanges, and the spirit can mimic your rhythm forever. Guess what? You just did the first one. The book warns, do not complete the 3rd knock unless you mean to invite. You flip pages faster, heart thudding. A section on lath and plaster walls. How old houses hold sound differently. How some walls, remember, cries long after they're made. One fringe note claims that memories can get trapped in the calcium of plaster, like echoes in a shell. Some Victorian ghost hunters even licked walls to test for spirit residue. Don't worry, you're not doing that. Instead, you scan a paragraph about the hollow. It says, some walls are thicker than they appear. Between studs and brick, a cavity sometimes forms. When filled by sorrow, it becomes a hollow. A place not quite inside your house, not quite outside the world. You reread the part about sorrow. The book explains, if a child died in the home, the hollow deepens. If the sorrow was hidden, locked away, unspoken, it warps time. The ghost won't appear. The ghost will become the house. There's a footnote dated 1642. Do not remove the painting in the northeast corner. Behind it is the mark. Behind the mark is the eye. You slowly turn your head toward the corner with the painting, the one you dismissed earlier. That thing has hung crooked since you moved in. You've adjusted it, nailed it, leveled it. Always ends up tilted left. Now you know why. You pull the painting down. Behind it, a symbol, carved lightly into the wall. It looks like an eye, surrounded by crude lines forming what could be teeth. Or flames. Or both. You run your hand over it. The lines are shallow but deep enough to have taken effort. They weren't made with a pen. And then, another knock. From inside the wall. You don't respond this time. You just slide the painting back in place. Still tilted. You flip the book shut for the second time, but this time, it doesn't just radiate heat. It pulses. A steady heartbeat rhythm. You decide to sleep on the couch. That's when you hear it. Not from the book. From the wall behind you. Knock. 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 That's 3. You didn't answer. But it did. You wake up feeling like you've only blinked. The light is weird, gray and hushed, like someone dimmed the world outside. You sit up on the couch with your neck at a crooked angle, and your mouth tasting faintly of copper. Then you realize your ears are ringing. That rhythmic pulse from the book, it's not gone. It's migrated. Into your skull. You glance toward the book, now closed on the coffee table, covered dull and innocent like it didn't whisper from the walls all night. But as you pass your fingers over the leather again, you notice something has changed. The cover isn't smooth anymore. There's a new crease. No, an opening. The book has grown a flap. You unfold it carefully, and behind the flap is a tiny slip of paper. Faded red wax seal. Barely legible ink. It reads, "To awaken a spirit fully, offer salt, flame, and voice." Salt you have. A half-used shaker from your kitchen. Flame is easy enough, one of those decorative candles shaped like a cactus. But voice means words. There's a warning in the same careful script. Be warned, what listens may speak. What speaks may stay. Still, something compels you. You get the salt. You light the cactus. You speak. Is anyone there? Nothing. So you ask again, whispering this time. That's when the candle sputters, not out, but in. Like something breathed it in. You pause. Then you do the most responsible thing you can think of, you whisper. "I don't want any trouble." And faintly, from the wall, not inside your ear, not quite out loud either, you hear a reply. "Yet you woke me." A single phrase. Crisp. Genderless. Spoken like a fact. Not a threat. Not a welcome. You step back. The book's next page is dedicated to this part of the ritual. Apparently ghosts, real ones, the book says, have difficulty speaking. Not because they can't, but because the rules of the world resist them. Walls hold them. Fire distracts them. Salt offends them. Yet each is required to summon them fully. You look at the salt. The ghost should hate it. But it responded anyway. That's not comforting. The next paragraph explains the types of hauntings in 1491's terminology: whispers, echoes, imprints, and thirsts. Whispers are the most common, fleeting phrases with no speaker. Echoes are more persistent, tied to specific events, repeating loops of past trauma. You know, like those haunted castles where a lady walks the hall every October 12th, sobbing about a stolen locket or whatever. Imprints are dangerous. Not evil. Just unaware. They think they're alive, and worse, they think you're the ghost. But thirsts? The book doesn't define thirsts. Just underlines the word 3 times and adds 1 note. They wear the house. Historians still argue what that meant. Some believe thirsts were just metaphors for madness. Others say the phrase originated in a village outside Prague, where residents claimed their homes, mouthed them in sleep. You really hope it's the first theory. You flip to the next page. Now there's an illustration. A house drawn like a person, windows as eyes, chimney as mouth. But the door? It's drawn open, with arms stretching from within. Below it, a handwritten message. If the house knocks without answer, it will knock again. Not on the wall. On you. You touch your chest, half expecting bruises. Nothing. Yet. Later you Google your house. Built in 1911. Renovated in 1954. Purchased by a man named Asa Eberlin, who lived here until 1966. Died in the house. You dig deeper. Asa wasn't just some guy. He was a fringe architect obsessed with spiritual acoustics. Believed you could design silence to hold prayers. Or screams. You're not joking. The only surviving article quotes him saying, "A well-designed corridor may whisper back the secrets of the soul." You look at your hallway. It's unusually long. Always seemed off. Even the dog never liked walking down it. Suddenly the house feels a size too big. You return to the book. A new section has appeared, not torn, just revealed. The title reads, Chapter 3, of Openings and Mouths. You read it aloud. Probably shouldn't have. But you do. It tells of mouths, in houses, places where energy slips between worlds. Often disguised. A cupboard that doesn't stay closed. A drawer that sticks. A hatch that breathes warmth instead of dust. You know which one it is in your house. The crawl space. That one corner of your hallway with a square wooden panel you've never dared open. Painted shut for decades. But recently, maybe last month, it cracked. Just a little. Enough to whistle when the wind gets weird. You try not to think about it. Then the lights flicker. Once. Then every bulb in the room dims slightly, just enough for you to notice. The book says, if the mouth opens, do not speak its name. Do not breathe into it. Do not let it hear your heartbeat. Which raises an awkward point. It already has. You hear a knock, not from the wall this time. From under the couch. A single knock. And then something brushes your ankle. You leap up like it's a cartoon and run straight to the hallway, heart banging against your ribs. The crawlspace door is open. Just a crack. You shut it. Nail it shut. Duct tape it shut. Then you throw a bookshelf in front of it, because that's totally going to work against the possibly sentient, metaphorically thirsty architecture. You return to the book. You whisper, "What do I do?" And in the silence, one page flips on its own. You read the single sentence there. You must learn its name before it learns yours. You don't sleep that night. Not because you're scared, though, okay, yeah, you are. But because every time you blink, your ears tune into something you swear is breathing. Not your own. Not human. The kind that's just slightly offbeat, like a metronome on the wrong tempo. And it always syncs up with the creaks in your house. Creak. Inhale. Creak. Exhale. You stay up, sprawled on the floor with the book in front of you and every light on like a rebellious toddler who refuses to surrender to bedtime. The book is heavy with the smell of dust and something sharper, sulfur, maybe, or regret. You're on the chapter about names now. It's called, To Unmask the Guest. Apparently, ghosts, real ones, again, not the Scooby-Doo sheet-wearing kind, have names. But not like Charles or Rebecca. No, these names are their true forms. Their vibrations. Their resonance in the world. The book says, names carry shape. Shape grants influence. Influence commands obedience, or invites ruin. Cool. So no pressure. To discover a ghost's name, the book offers a ritual. Of course it does. You need 3 things. 1. Something the ghost touched in life. 2. Something it watches now. 3. Something from the earth that was buried under. You blink. Because you don't even know who it is yet. But your house, Ace's house, might know. So you start snooping. First, the ghost's object. You search the attic. You've avoided it for years because it smells like a raccoon's retirement home and the insulation looks like haunted cotton candy. But this time you go up, flashlight in hand, dodging low beams and your own common sense. And there, in the corner, beneath a moth-bitten wool coat and 3 jars of buttons, you find it, a brass compass. It's warm. You don't even know how that's possible. You bring it downstairs and place it beside the book. It spins slowly, even though you're inside. Even though there's no breeze. Second, something it watches. That one's easy. The crawl space. Or rather, the hallway leading to it. You set a mirror there. Just a small one, nothing fancy. The book says to leave it overnight, then gaze into it at sunrise. So you do. The next morning, bleary-eyed and jittery from coffee and zero sleep, you kneel before the mirror as the weak morning light drips through the blinds. At first, it's just you. But slowly, shapes begin to blur behind your reflection. The wallpaper warps. Your own eyes shift, not color, but depth. Like something standing just behind them, peering out. Watching you through you. And then, clear as crystal, a word forms in the fog of the mirror. Aldwin. You stumble back. Is that the name? Historians still argue whether mirror names were spirit identifiers or simply psychological projections from a terrified brain. Some claim mirrors were used in medieval rituals to test for possession. Others believe it was just prototherapy for lonely monks. You write, Aldwin, in the margin of the book. The ink smears by itself. You're making progress. Now the third part, Earth from its grave. This is where it gets messy. You look up Asa Eberlin's burial. Surprisingly, it isn't far. A local cemetery, maybe 10 minutes from your place. You tell yourself it's just dirt. Just earth. Asa won't mind. But there's a problem. The records are fuzzy. The headstone is missing. You wander the overgrown paths until you find a cracked stone. Just the rest eroded. You kneel down and dig a bit into the soil at its base. It's moist, even though it hasn't rained. The scent is strangely sweet. Not in a pleasant way, more like fruit left too long on a windowsill. You gather a small jar's worth and hurry home. Back in the house, you place all three ingredients before the book. The compass. The mirror. The grave dirt. Now what? The page reads. Place the items in a triangle. At center your breath. Speak the name. 3 times. Then wait. You do. You inhale. You speak. Aldwin. 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 At first? No. Then, the compass needle spins violently and shatters the glass. The mirror fogs up. The jar of dirt begins to vibrate. And in your head, not your ears, you hear. Who names me? It's not a question. It's an accusation. You say, I'm just trying to understand. The book flips again, by itself, landing on a diagram of the human body. Not anatomical. Symbolic. Lines connect the heart, throat, and spine. Below the phrase, to name is to bind. But to understand is to open. So now you know the spirit's name, Aldwin. And that's when the scratching begins. Not the cute ghost kitten variety, but inside your walls. First, near the hallway. Then, behind the refrigerator. Then, beneath the bathtub. You chase the sounds with your flashlight. No source. Just that scraping, a rhythm again. Like something remembering how to move. You sit down, breath shallow. The compass needle now points steadily toward the crawl space. Of course it does. You whisper. What do you want? Silence. Then, you named me. You don't reply. The house creaks again. More of that deep-set shifting, like bones turning in their sleep. The book reads, do not answer until you understand the question beneath the question. And just like that, you start to get it. This isn't just about banishing a ghost. This is about what you woke. And worse. What now knows your name. You stop asking questions out loud after that. Not because you're done talking, but because now, something else is answering. And you get the feeling Aldwin doesn't quite grasp conversational boundaries. Or time. Or, the concept of not whispering your name through a hairdryer vent at 2:43 a.m. You find yourself tiptoeing through your own house, like you're a guest in someone else's haunted Airbnb. The book, always open now, hums faintly when you walk past it. You swear the pages shift slightly when you're not looking, like it's breathing in sync with you. You return to the text, flipping toward the next chapter, hand trembling slightly. It's titled, Ghosts Hate Certain Things. Well, that's promising. The list isn't what you expect. No garlic, no crosses, no salt circles or sacred chants. Instead, the 1491 Ghost Manual swears by some odd repellents. You read aloud. Ghosts abhor brass chimes, caged fire, ink from starless nights, and laughter from deep within the belly. You reread the last one. Laughter? Apparently, joy is like acid to spirits stuck between worlds. Especially joy tied to the body, gut-busting, eye-watering, utterly human laughter. Something about its vibrational frequency interfering with spectral anchoring. At least, that's what one footnote scribbled in Latin suggests. Historians still argue whether medieval exorcists believed in sound as therapy or if it was just their version of yelling, "Cheer up!" at the void. So naturally, you go find your old Bluetooth speaker. You blast stand-up comedy. It helps. For a while. The scratching in the walls fades. The lights stop flickering. Even the compass goes still. You laugh. Genuinely. Loudly. Something about a bit on medieval dentists and sheet-based anesthesia gets you wheezing. And for a moment, just a moment, your house feels warm. Then the speaker dies. Not slowly. No fade out. Just click. Dead. You check the battery. It's full. Then the lights die too. And somewhere behind you, in the inky dark, a floorboard groans. You do not turn around. Instead, you whisper, "You didn't like that, huh?" The crawl space door creaks open. Uninvited. So now you're crouched in the hallway, flashlight trembling in your grip like it's made of pudding. The crawl space stares at you, mouth wide. Cold air oozes out, moist and sour, like breath trapped underground for centuries. The book gives no instructions here. Just a warning. Where it hides, it thrives. To chase it out, you must offend it. You look around, desperate. Your eyes land on the brass wind chime your grandmother gave you 5 Christmases ago. The one you never hung up because it made your cat homicidal. You hang it right at the crawlspace entrance. Instantly, a breeze stirs. No windows open. The chime starts singing, soft, melodic, almost smug. And then boom, it's flung across the hall. Bent. Snapped. Broken. You laugh, a short, nervous bark. Okay. We hit a nerve. The compass needle is spinning again. Back to the book. You flip further. There, scribbled in crimson ink, which you really hope is just some medieval beet juice, a heading catches your eye. The banishment begins with discomfort. Apparently, the way to drive out a ghost is not with power, or purity, or even faith. It's irritation. You're supposed to make the spirit uncomfortable. Force it to recall the pain of staying. Not the comfort of haunting. That's weirdly modern of them. So you turn up the heat in the house. The book claims ghosts, especially those bound in grief, hate warmth. Something about the sensation reminding them of their decaying bodies. Grim. You light candles. You open the blinds. You laugh again, forced this time. Hollow. Still, the energy shifts. The house groans, unsettled. Like it's full of someone trying to nap while you vacuum nearby. But then the mirror cracks. Not a break. A shatter, spiderwebbing from the center outward, like something just headbutted the other side. You freeze. Because from inside the crawl space, you hear breathing. Not your own. You lean closer, the way every horror movie begs you not to. And a voice rasps, faint, like wind through gravel. Stop. Your blood turns cold. You whisper, "Why?" No answer. But the book offers one. A passage, underlined by a prior owner centuries ago, reads, "The ghost remembers its hurt not as past, but as present. To remove it is to force the wound to close. And it does not wish to be forgotten." So you sit. Right there, outside the crawl space. You speak calmly. "Aldwin, why are you still here?" This time, no voice. But the air thickens. The book's pages flutter. And behind you, the compass needle snaps. You don't flinch. You whisper again. Who hurt you? A pause. Then, my son. The voice is bitter. Choked. Less ghost, more grief. And that's when it dawns on you. Asa Eberlin didn't die alone. He was left. You flip to the next page. There's an old letter tucked there, faded ink barely legible. A copy of a son's confession. Guilt. Regret. I abandoned my father in his illness. He died cursing my name. You close your eyes. The ghost isn't angry. It's lonely. You say softly, you don't have to stay. Silence. Then wind. Heavy. Moving through the crawl space like a sigh hundreds of years old. And just before the light bulb overhead flares back to life. A whisper. Don't forget me. You nod. And the door creaks closed. The crawl space door doesn't latch, but it stays shut now. That's something. You don't touch it again. The book rests in your lap, somehow heavier. The next chapter begins with a stark line penned in sharper script than the rest. You wonder if someone added it later, maybe long after Aldwin's grief had seeped through the wood of the house. Some ghosts stay because we keep building altars to them. You pause. Blink. The phrase rings strangely modern, like something you'd hear from a therapist who charges by the hour and drinks oat milk lattes. You tilt your head and reread it, letting it sink in. What are your altars? The dusty photo albums under your bed? The voicemail from a long-gone voice you still won't delete? The chair you never moved because that's where she used to sit. The book implies, no, insists, that keeping ghosts isn't just about trauma. It's about ritual. And you've been performing yours daily, without even knowing. Time to dismantle them. You start small. Delete the voicemail. It's hard. Your thumb hovers longer than it should. When you finally tap delete, the lights flicker again, not violently, just like the house is sighing. Next, the corner shelf of inherited trinkets. Porcelain dog figurines. An ashtray shaped like an owl. A prayer card for someone you never met. Into the donation box they go. You whisper, sorry, Great Aunt Millicent. The book says you must unmake the rooms they still live in. You glance at your bedroom. Yeah, that one's a mausoleum. Same bedding for 5 years. Same layout. Same faint smell of eucalyptus and guilt. You change it all. New sheets. New light bulbs. You flip the bed to the other wall, just to break the memory map. The compass finally stops twitching. You allow yourself a breath. Outside, a storm gathers, heavy clouds rolling in like a theater curtain being drawn. Thunder grumbles. You half joke to the air. If this is Aldwin's doing, tell him I'm trying, okay? The house stays silent. But the book glows faintly under your touch, as if pleased. You keep reading. Next up, echo traps. Now this bit gets you. According to the text, some rooms become echo traps, spaces where grief, guilt, or rage play on a loop like a cassette left running. They pull energy, people, even animals into the same emotions. The same arguments. The same bad decisions. Historians still argue whether this was superstition or early insight into the psychology of trauma. Either way, the book offers a remedy, disruption. So you get weird. You paint a wall the brightest yellow you can stand. You burn sage, not because you believe in it, but because the act itself feels like rebellion. You dance to early 2000s pop music, arms flailing with uncoordinated joy, and honestly, it kind of works. Your laughter sounds real again. The echo breaks. You keep going. You move a mirror to face east instead of north, according to a side note in the margin that supposedly confuses residual spirits. You play jazz at midnight. You start writing letters to the people you're not ready to talk to, then bury them in the backyard. One under the plum tree. The book says, ghosts may whisper, but they shout through routine. Shatter it. So you do. And then, on the 6th night, the dreams begin. Not nightmares, though one did involve a tap-dancing skeleton offering you toast. But they're vivid. Sensory. You feel dirt under your nails. You smell old books and burning hair. You see faces, unfamiliar and yet familiar in that dream logic way. And one of them is Aldwin. You wake gasping, sweat-soaked, the book open beside you as if it read over your shoulder all night. One line glows faintly. When they enter your dreams, they seek permission. Permission for what? To stay? To leave? To become more? You grab your journal and start scribbling notes. You haven't kept a dream journal since your I might be psychic phase in 7th grade, but this feels necessary. You track patterns, smells, sounds, colors. You notice something chilling. Each dream has the same clock in the background. 4:09. You start waking up at that exact time, too. Every night. Eventually, you get brave. You sit up at 4:08, staring at the shadows. The book on your lap. The house breathless. And this time, you say it aloud. I give you permission. The air goes thick. Cold. But not malevolent. It feels like something larger than you is listening. You continue. If you're still here because of me, you can go. You're released. Or forgiven. Or whatever it is you need. Nothing happens. Not immediately. Then your bedroom door slowly swings open. A draft? Or a thank you? The book doesn't say. Instead, a new passage has appeared, one that wasn't there before. Not even 20 minutes ago. When the house goes quiet, beware the quiet that follows. It may not be silence. It may be the pause before reply. You read that twice. Then once more. And the hair on your arms stands straight up. Because the quiet that follows? It's not empty. It's listening. The book grows heavier with every page, as if knowledge has mass, and you're starting to feel it in your wrists. But it's not just that. The quiet in the house is thicker now. Too still. Like the walls are holding their breath. You rub your thumb over that new line. Beware the quiet that follows. And then you hear it. A soft knock. 3 slow taps, not at the door, not on the window, but from beneath the floorboards. You freeze. The sound doesn't come again, but the air vibrates slightly, as if the house just told you a secret in Morse code. The next chapter of the book is titled, The Thing in the Crawl Space. You close your eyes. Of course there's a crawl space chapter. The handwriting here is jagged, almost frantic, different than Aldwin's flowing script. More like someone scribbled it down while looking over their shoulder. You read on. It speaks of the nameless, spelled exactly like that. No vowels missing, no spelling error. Just unsettling. The nameless are described as remnants. Not ghosts. Not demons. Not spirits in the Hollywood sense. But something else, emotions that got stuck in meat. You flinch at the phrasing. It repeats that idea. They are not dead things. They are stuck feelings in dead skin. You're not sure whether to laugh or call a therapist. Apparently, they linger in the belly of a house, basements, crawl spaces, root cellars. And the only way to deal with one? You have to name what it was before it got twisted. Which means you'll have to go into the crawl space. You try to ignore it. Try to sleep with the fan on and the lights dimmed. But every time you close your eyes, that rhythmic tap 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 returns. You finally break at 4:09 a.m. again. Of course. The house hums like a throat about to speak. So you gear up. Flashlight. Hoodie. Boots. The book under one arm like a holy relic. And you pull open the crawlspace panel. It smells like forgotten things. Dry rot and rusted nails. You duck inside. The floor is cold dirt, scattered with old insulation, a single cracked marble, and what looks like a torn piece of parchment. Not paper, parchment. You pick it up with trembling fingers. It's a page from the book. Or maybe an earlier draft of it. The words are smeared, burned on one edge. But you make out a sentence. Speak its memory aloud, and it will unhook. You swallow. The flashlight beam catches something in the corner, an odd shape. A bundle. You think it's just a pile of cloth at first, but then it shifts. Not toward you. Just slightly, like it adjusted to your presence. Your breath fogs the air. It's freezing under here. You speak, gently, stupidly. Who are you? Nothing. Then you remember the book's phrasing. Not who. What? So you try again. What memory are you? And suddenly your mouth fills with the taste of blood oranges. You blink. You haven't had a blood orange since that summer trip to Sicily, and yet it's there, sharp and coppery sweet. Then the flashlight flickers and you're somewhere else. It's not time travel exactly. It's a memory overlay. Yours? Someone else's? You see a woman kneeling in the crawl space, cradling something. Her face is pale, cracked like porcelain. She's sobbing over a small, wrapped bundle. A baby? No, too still. Too silent. She whispers one word. You strain to hear. It's not a name. It's a feeling. Regret. And that's when you know what the nameless here is. It's not a ghost. It's her grief, sunk so deep into the soil it sprouted limbs and teeth. The book trembles in your hand. The page flips itself. A new line glows. Name it. And mean it. So you take a breath. You look at the thing in the corner. No longer a bundle, not quite a shape, just a presence. You kneel. And you whisper. Your sorrow. Your love that didn't have time. The air pressure shifts. It's like the house exhales. The shape fades, not vanishes, just thins, like smoke after a candle is snuffed. And in its place, a single object remains, a child's wooden toy. Hand-carved. Still glossy from a mother's care. You don't touch it. You bow your head. Then you back out, inch by inch, crawl space dust clinging to your clothes like a shroud. When you slide the panel closed, the air above feels lighter. Like a storm passed without breaking. Back in your room, the compass needle spins once, then stops. North again. You glance at the book. It has turned itself to the next chapter. Title: Never Let Them In Through Mirrors. You groan aloud. Of course, mirrors. Because nothing screams bedtime like haunted reflective surfaces. You swear you hear the house chuckle. Just a little. You'll deal with that tomorrow. For now you shower twice. Burn a candle. Sit quietly. Try to write in your dream journal, but the pen keeps slipping in your fingers. You close your eyes just for a second. And in your sleep, something presses a cool kiss to your forehead. The toy in the crawl space is gone by morning. You wake up with the sour aftertaste of dreams you're not allowed to remember. Aren't allowed. Like someone slipped blackout film over your memories. You touch your forehead and feel the ghost of that kiss from the night before. Too cold to be comforting. Too precise to be accidental. The book lies open on your chest. Not where you left it. Pages flutter to a new chapter. Never let them in through mirrors. You sigh. Because of course it's mirrors. One of humanity's oldest frights, second only to the dark. You sit up slowly, glance toward your vanity, and feel your stomach twist. Something is off. It's subtle. A ripple, like glass that's breathed too long. The reflection shows your room, sure. Your unmade bed, the soft pile of books, your hoodie tossed over the chair. But your reflection? It's still asleep. You stare. Blink. The you in the mirror lies still, eyes closed, peaceful as anything. Your heart does this hiccup beat thing that feels very, very mortal. Then the mirror version exhales slowly, and opens one eye. Straight at you. The book shudders once against your chest, like it's warning you, don't speak. Not yet. You watch your reflection slowly sit up, mimicking your earlier motion but just, delayed. As if remembering how. The mirror you smiles faintly. It's your mouth, but wrong. Like it borrowed the shape but not the meaning. You know what the book is trying to tell you, the reflection's already been compromised. You look down and read the next passage. They mimic first. Then they tempt. Then they swap. You suddenly remember something. The historical fact buried in your sleep-deprived mind. Ancient Greeks believed that mirrors were portals. Not just reflective surfaces, but thin films between here and there. That's why they placed them over the mouths of the dead. To stop souls from escaping. You glance back at your mirror. Mirror you isn't looking at you anymore. It's watching the book. Its smile grows wider. Time to act. You flip the page again, and it instructs. Cover all mirrors in black cloth. Speak 3 names that are not yours. You think fast. Names. Any names? Alexander. Miriam. Tobias. The mirror ripples again, visibly this time. Like heat haze. Your reflection flickers between your face and something else. Not a monster, not a skull, just an absence with your eyes. You scramble to yank your hoodie off the chair, toss it over the mirror, and press the book to the surface. The pages glow faintly. Something hisses from underneath the cloth. You don't wait. You keep pressing. The hiss quiets. A smell like burnt metal floods the room. And then silence. You back away, arms shaking. When you check under the cloth again, because of course you do, the mirror is dark. Not broken, just no longer a mirror. The surface is matte, flat, like someone replaced the glass with stone. The book lets out a final little sigh as the page curls inward. You collapse on the bed. You're about to scream into your pillow when a footnote catches your eye. Yes, a footnote. In this cursed, haunted, Apocalypse of the Soul manual. Tiny script at the bottom of the mirror chapter reads, if a reflection gets out, it becomes what is called a gloss sling. You'll know it by its hunger for warmth. It will seek the coldest rooms first. Then your breath. Then your name. Your bedroom is already feeling chillier. You run to the thermostat. It's set to 71. But the air is frigid. You wrap yourself in a blanket, look to the next chapter, and brace yourself. Title: The Hallways That Move When You're Not Watching. You consider briefly setting the book on fire. But let's be honest, you just wake up with the ashes spelling, try again, on your pillow. Instead you read on. The author, still Aldwin, thankfully, describes a peculiar medieval superstition, that certain buildings reshape based on attention. The theory wasn't mystical at first, it was architectural. Monks believed prayer halls would warp for those with ill intent, leading them in circles. Then it became more sinister. Aldwin writes, I lived in a house whose corridor was 4 steps long. I counted. Then one day it was 5. Another 7. I once walked for hours before realizing I'd passed my own bedroom again and again. He says the hallways only shift when no one's watching. When eyes are closed, or distracted, or trusting. You think of your own hallway. The one between the kitchen and your room. Is it longer today? You walk it. Count the steps. 8. Didn't it used to be 6? You walk back. 9. Your stomach flips. This time, you keep your eyes wide open and walk backward. 7. Okay. You're officially entering minus real estate market now. The book offers a solution, anchor points. Objects with emotional weight can keep a hallway from drifting. Things that remember where they belong. You gather some items, your childhood plush, an old birthday card, that one cracked mug you keep meaning to toss. You place one at each door. You count again. 6. Better. The book also advises to draw a circle of salt around any door you don't recognize. You laugh. Like I'd forget a whole door in my own. Then you see it. Down the hall, past the bathroom. A pale wooden door with a rusted knob. You know your house. That door shouldn't be there. You grab the salt. The door is cold to the touch. You pour a ring around it. And then, because you can't help yourself, you knock. Once. Twice. 3 times. From the other side, you hear your voice whisper. Please let me out. You step back. Slowly. The hallway shortens. Back to 6 steps. The door is gone. You are very, very awake now. The book falls shut on your desk. You don't remember placing it there. But the cover pulses softly. Waiting. You don't sleep. Not really. You lie down, sure. You close your eyes and pretend the darkness is kind. But your muscles hum like they're bracing for an earthquake no one else feels. You dream of salt lines breaking and mirrors cracking from the inside. When dawn threatens to show up, pale and exhausted like you find yourself drawn back to the book. You don't even try to fight it anymore. Like an ex who knows all your weaknesses, it beckons with just the right amount of mystery and menace. This time, it opens not to a chapter, but to a diagram. A symbol drawn in black and ink and surrounded by neat, careful notes. You don't recognize the language at first, until you tilt the book slightly and realize it's upside down. You rotate it. And now it reads, "The Basilisk Room, a door that should never open." Great. Because if there's one architectural feature your home definitely needs, it's a reptilian death chamber with trust issues. The book begins with a historical anecdote that actually soothes you for a minute. A warm little nugget of real-world context. During the late 1400s, basilisk myths were so widespread that entire buildings were designed without basements, just in case a serpent-born demon tried to slither up from below. People placed rooster statues at entryways, not because they were stylish, but because folklore claimed a basilisk could be killed by the crow of a rooster. Historians still argue whether these practices were rooted in superstition or symbolic fear of plague-bearing animals. But either way, a lot of people took their floor plans very seriously. You wonder if your house has a basement. You've never really checked. Something tightens in your chest. The book lists signs you have a basilisk room, unintentionally. 1. Animals avoid a certain part of your home. 2. There is a door that is always cold to the touch. 3. Unexplained hissing sounds between 3 o'clock and 3:30 a.m. 4. Hairline cracks forming in a perfect circle on a floorboard. 5. You wake with the scent of egg yolk in your nose. You try to laugh. Like, haha, how silly. But the last few nights? Your cat hasn't gone near the back laundry room. The floorboard under the boiler makes a weird cracking sound when you walk on it. And this morning, you smelled something strange. Sulfurous. Warm. Familiar in a way that makes your skin rebel. You press your ear to the laundry room floor. And you hear something breathing. It's not regular. Not even human. It's slow and low, like wind curling through a pipe that's never been cleaned. The book says calmly, "The basilisk does not need to see you to hunt. It only needs to feel your attention." So naturally, the next page is entirely blank. You stare at it. Then, as your eyes relax, letters start to bleed through from underneath, red ink seeping up like bruises surfacing. Instructions. To contain the basilisk room, perform the 4-part latch ritual. You will need a rooster feather, ashes from a morning fire, a mirror covered in soot, a spoken riddle with no answer. You sit back. Try to parse it out. There's no fireplace. No ashes. Your neighbor might have chickens, but you're not about to go asking for sacred poultry pieces. And a riddle with no answer? You think back to a line from a childhood poem. What has one voice, grows with none, and dies with silence? You never could solve that one. Maybe that's good enough. You start gathering what you can. Burn a page from your old journal to get ashes. Smudge the mirror in your bathroom with the leftover soot. For the feather, you do something weird. You draw one, in ink, and whisper. Just pretend. The book doesn't object. You kneel at the center of the laundry room floor and whisper your riddle. The floor creaks. The air presses down. Your breath fogs the glass in your hand, and freezes. Then, quietly, a circle forms. A perfect ring of tiny frost points around you. You stay very still. The book lies open at your side. The next line appears slowly, like it's being written right now. Do not open the trapdoor beneath. Not yet. Not until the house speaks its own name. You stare at that sentence. Trapdoor? You look around. And then you see it. Half hidden behind the detergent bin. A wooden square, its edges too clean, its presence too obvious now that you're allowed to notice it. You don't touch it. Instead, you whisper aloud, "What's your name?" No reply. Just a creak in the wall. You try again. House. I need your name. Still nothing. You pick up the book. Turn to the margin, where Alwyn's handwriting scratches a last note. Every home once had a name. You must remember it, not invent it. The walls will whisper if you earn their trust. You look around. Touch the floor. And then, without warning, you remember something. Your grandmother's voice, decades ago, telling you the story of a woman who lived in a house called Brindle Hollow. She said it like a nursery rhyme. You whisper it. Brindle Hollow. The floor shudders beneath you. Then, click. The trapdoor seals itself. You didn't even see it move. The frost melts. The mirror clears. And the book closes. You are very much still in your home. But something about it is calmer now. Still eerie, still soaked in memory, but quieter. Like a room that's finally exhaled. You hear a faint sound. A rustle. You glance toward your bedroom. The book is open again. One word at the top of the page. Visitors. You don't want to check. You really, truly don't. But like everything with this book, it's not exactly a choice anymore. The word visitors pulses faintly on the page now, like a candle flame caught in a windless room, steady, expectant. You're standing in your hallway, and even though you've lived here for years, every creak underfoot feels wrong. Like the boards have shifted ever so slightly under new weight. Someone else's. You try a casual peek toward the front door. Nothing. But when you turn your head to the left, where the hallway darkens into a corner that leads to the den, you notice it. Just barely, the scent of flowers. Lilacs. Heavy and old, like a perfume worn too thick by someone who hasn't updated their style since 1791. You look back at the book. A new paragraph has inked itself in. Visitors are not ghosts. They are echoes made flesh, memories that wear shoes. They enter only when invited, though the invitation is often unintentional. You blink. Then, a few lines lower. Most common invitations. Saying the word welcome after dusk. Opening the door and stepping back. Leaving your home's name unspoken for more than 3 days. Failing to bury an old photograph. Reading this page aloud, oops. You do a double take. You didn't read it aloud. Probably. You muttered. Muttering doesn't count, right? The scent of lilacs is stronger now. You turn and freeze. There's someone standing at the end of the hallway. Except they're not quite standing. More like occupying a vertical space that happens to be at human height. Not moving. Not blinking. A little fuzzy at the edges, like a person remembered poorly from a family photo you didn't take. You don't scream. You just squint. Because the figure isn't threatening. It's not angry or broken or monstrous. It's sad, hollow in the face. Dressed in old-fashioned clothes, pale shoes, a hat that's almost definitely handmade. The book speaks again, in that creepy cursive way it has. A visitor will try to engage. Do not speak back. Do not ask questions. Do not let it offer you anything. Which is fantastic advice, except now the visitor is holding something out. A small box. You step back. It doesn't move forward. You don't breathe. You count 6 seconds. Then 7. On the 8th it speaks. Only 2 words. For you. Its voice is the sound of a needle skipping on an old record. The book now screams in all caps. Do not accept the gift. You whisper very quietly. No, thank you. The figure tilts its head. And then slowly, gently it sets the box down on the carpet. It doesn't vanish. It doesn't dissolve into mist or burst into flames. It just steps backward slowly, until it fades back into the hallway's shadows like smoke exhaled into the dark. You're alone again. But the box remains. You glance at the book. New ink appears, 1 line at a time. Unopened gifts retain no power. But curiosity is a thief. Do not open it. Not today. Not ever. You pick it up anyway. Because you're human. And humans are terrible at listening to instructions that begin with, do not. The box is light. Cold. When you press it to your ear, you hear something rattle. Like a marble inside a jewelry case. Or a very tiny clock winding itself back. You want to open it, but you don't. Instead, you wrap it in 2 socks and stuff it into the back of your freezer. Not exactly a ritual, but the book doesn't complain. In fact, it turns a page on its own. At the top, when visitors outstay their welcome. Great. Because that implies they're not exactly on a strict schedule. Below the heading is a sketch. A house with the roof removed, like a dollhouse. Several figures are inside, drawn in charcoal, vague and shadowy. One is sitting at the kitchen table. One is curled up in a closet. Another appears to be peeking around the corner of the bathroom mirror. You stop reading. You walk through the house slowly. Kitchen? Empty. Closet? Just coats and your regrettable camping gear. Bathroom? You check the mirror with your phone flashlight. Nothing peeks back. But then you walk by the hallway again, and that lilac scent is still there. Lighter now. Lingering. The book says. A visitor fades when ignored. But if acknowledged too often, they may choose to remain. Even become host. You reread that last word, host. And then realize, wait. Isn't you supposed to be the host? Apparently not. You flip to the next page. It's a list of countermeasures. Signs you may already be hosting a visitor. 1. Dreams that feel borrowed. 2. A craving for food you've never liked. 3. Hearing your name when no one calls. 4. Waking to find furniture shifted 2 inches left. 5. The sound of weeping behind closed cabinets. You look up. The living room chair is definitely angled wrong. Like, just enough to make you doubt your memory. You sit down. Try to breathe. And then the weeping starts. Soft. From under the kitchen sink. You do not check. Instead, you whisper, "Not tonight." You close the book. Slide it under the couch. And go to bed fully clothed, with the lights on and every mirror turned to the wall. But the box in the freezer? It rattles once. Just once. And then it goes still. The next morning, you wake up like someone hit the reset button on your brain. For one glorious moment, you think it was all just a dream, the book, the visitor, the box. But then your sock drawer won't close properly, and you remember, 2 socks are missing. Right. The freezer. The box. You shuffle to the kitchen, still wearing yesterday's shirt, and open the freezer door like you expect a poltergeist to punch you in the face. But no, it's still there. The box. Wrapped in mismatched socks. Silent now. Obedient. You leave it. The book is still under the couch, of course. You pull it out slowly, like it might be sleeping. And guess what? It's already on the next chapter. How to evict the unwelcome. Lovely. But there's a problem. Because right under that is a note. Before banishment, one must identify their guest. So yeah, now we're calling them guests. Cute. You suppose. Parasitic metaphysical house squatter. Didn't test well with the focus group. The book goes on. Each guest wears a mask of habit. They'll root themselves in forgotten routines. You will feel their presence not in terror, but in repetition. That sounds familiar. You glance toward the back room, where the radio, an old AM thing you didn't even know still worked, has been clicking on at 3:17 a.m. sharp. Playing only static. You assumed it was faulty wiring. You now assume you were a fool. The book then offers your first test. To expose the guest, alter your rhythm. Eat dessert first. Wear socks on your hands. Rearrange the furniture. If a shadow protests, congratulations, you've found them. So okay. You're not above looking ridiculous in the name of paranormal safety. That afternoon you do all 3. You eat a popsicle at 9 a.m., throw your laundry basket in the fridge, and spend 20 minutes wearing oven mitts like boxing gloves while pushing the couch onto a diagonal. The results? Immediate. You don't see it, exactly. But something shudders. The light flickers. A book falls from your shelf, even though there's no breeze and certainly no one nearby. It's a copy of The Velveteen Rabbit, which you haven't touched in years. You open it and find something tucked inside, a photo. Not yours. A black and white portrait. 2 children. Serious faces. One of them looks kind of like you. That's when you hear it again. The weeping. This time from the hallway. You grab the book. It now reads, "Guests feed on nostalgia. They grow fat on your memories." Beneath that is a rough illustration of a shadow creature curled around a record player, drinking the music through a long, straw-like tongue. It's disturbing. Also strangely adorable. If Pixar ever gets into horror. The text continues, "The best banishments are personal. What drew them can unmake them. Find the moment. Destroy the anchor." Okay. But what was your moment? You sit down, trying to think. Was it when you found that box of your grandfather's letters? When you reread your old journals? When you stood in the attic last week and whispered, "I miss how things used to be." Oops. The book whispers now, literally. You don't read it, you hear it. In your own voice. Go back to the attic. So you do. It's colder than you remember. You climb the stairs slowly, flashlight in hand, even though it's broad daylight outside. Dust floats in the beam like lazy insects. You reach the attic door. It's open. You didn't leave it open. Inside, the smell hits you first. Lilacs, yes, but also something sharper. Ozone, maybe? Like the air after a lightning strike. You spot the trunk. The one with the velvet lining and the old letters. You kneel beside it. There, tucked into the folds of a World War II-era coat, is another photograph. The same children. But this time, there's a third figure. A tall one, standing just behind them, face obscured by shadow, hand resting on one child's shoulder. You drop the photo. It lands face down. Your flashlight flickers. When it returns, there's something written on the inside of the trunk's lid. Scrawled in pencil. Faint. Uneven. You lean in. It reads, "Don't let him pretend to be family." You back away. The book in your hand burns hot, then cools instantly. A new page. Banishing ritual. The remembrance flame. Here's the recipe. It's weird, but manageable. An anchor object, the photograph. A whisper of rejection. You don't belong here. A candle lit before midnight. A locked door behind you. And finally, do not look back, no matter what you hear. You gather the items. Wait until 11:58 p.m. Light a candle. Lock the attic door behind you. You hold the photograph over the flame. It curls immediately, blackening at the edges. You whisper firmly, "You don't belong here." Behind you, something begins to knock. Soft at first. Then louder. Louder. A voice follows. "Please, it's me. Don't leave me behind again." You don't look. You want to. Oh, how you want to. Your bones ache with it. That voice, it knows you. It calls up a part of your childhood you haven't accessed in 20 years. You say it again, louder. "You don't belong here." The flame roars. The knocking stops. Then silence. Total. The candle gutters and dies. You unlock the attic door. Open it. No scent. No sound. The temperature feels normal. You descend. The radio no longer clicks on. The couch hasn't moved. You check the freezer. The box? Gone. But the socks remain. And on your living room table, the book has closed itself. On its cover now, faint and curling. Chapter complete, guest evicted. You sit down. You breathe. But then, just as you're about to stand and stretch and congratulate yourself on a job well ghosted, you notice one more thing. On the spine of the book, scratched in faint red ink. Visitor 2, pending arrival. You stare at the spine of the book like it just winked at you and offered you a second job you never applied for. Visitor 2, pending arrival. Pending. As in, already en route. You don't even bother trying to pretend you misunderstood. You know how this works now. If the book says something's coming, something is definitely coming. You open it again. This time it doesn't resist. The pages flutter as if on their own, landing on a new chapter, stamped in an elegant, curling script. Welcoming wards and the lure of thresholds. A line just underneath it in smaller handwriting reads, "You closed one door. But how many did you leave open?" Well, that's ominous. The next few paragraphs explain that entities, especially repeat visitors, don't necessarily use the same entrance twice. And worse, they're opportunistic. Like raccoons with a taste for the supernatural, they'll crawl in through the cracks in your daily routine. Front door? Too obvious. More likely culprits. Mirrors at midnight, unlocked drawers with forgotten keepsakes, basement stairs left unfinished, dreams where someone else decides when you wake up. Fun. You're now in full warding mode. The book gives you a checklist. You're told to salt thresholds, doors, windows, vents. Hang reflective objects above each room's entrance. Burn citrus peel and rosemary on the hour of dusk. Most importantly, do not let any guests cross your threshold uninvited, even if they're wearing your mother's voice. That last part? Very specific. Deeply disturbing. So you begin. Salt? Easy. You dump an entire Costco tub of sea salt across every window and doorway, whispering apologies to the Roomba. Reflective objects? You hang CDs like it's 2003, stringing them on thread above door frames, hoping no one visits and assumes you're hosting a rave for ghosts. Citrus and rosemary? Surprisingly pleasant. The scent warms the apartment. Feels like a Mediterranean kitchen, if that kitchen was also preparing for spectral warfare. Everything is set. The house is quiet. Too quiet. You check the book. Now it says, when the second visitor arrives, you will feel it first in your memory. A smell, a sound, a moment you forgot you forgot. You don't have to wait long. At exactly 2:36 a.m., you wake up to a song playing in your head. Not from outside, not from the radio. In your head. It's a tune your grandmother used to hum. Something soft, almost a lullaby. She died 10 years ago. You haven't thought of that melody since her funeral. The smell comes next. Fresh baked apples and cinnamon. You haven't baked a thing in weeks. You get out of bed, heart already sinking. The air feels denser somehow. Thicker. Like the atmosphere is trying to muffle you. You move toward the hallway. The lights are off, but the outline of the apartment feels wrong. Longer. Like the architecture is being rewritten 1 inch at a time. Then a sound. Scraping. Like nails on wood, slow and deliberate. You whisper the only defense you know. You're not invited. The scraping pauses. Then resumes. You duck into the kitchen, grabbing the book from the counter like it's your teddy bear, an instruction manual rolled into one. It opens with a thunk, revealing the visitor of familiar faces. Of course. You scan the description. This entity mimics affection. It wears your memories like clothing. It does not possess. It persuades. Its weapon is longing. Great. So now you're not up against a banshee or shadow person. You're up against emotional manipulation in ghost form. The instructions say, do not engage in conversation, no matter how loving the tone. Remove all photos from the walls. Burn or bury any heirlooms that stir longing. Speak only facts from the present, never reminisce. If it offers something you used to want, refuse it. It is bait. You're halfway through tearing down a wall of photo frames when it happens. A voice. Sweetheart, it's me. You left the door open again. Silly thing. You freeze. You want to believe. Of course you do. That voice, it's identical. Down to the little rasp she had when she caught a cold. But no. Not real. Not real. You respond firmly. You're not welcome here. The voice shifts slightly. Softer. Less certain. Don't you remember our stories? You asked me to come back. I'm here because you called. Your mind flashes back to the attic. The whisper. I miss how things used to be. Oh no. You did call. And now it's answering. You grab a box of old letters, things from college, childhood, heirlooms of memory, and shove them into the kitchen sink. You douse it with rosemary oil. Light the match. The fire flares. The lights in the hallway pop. The voice snarls now. You don't have to do this. We could be whole again. Just let me in. You yell louder, over the cracking wood and hissing pipes. I live in the present. You are a lie. The book opens to its final command for this ritual. Speak your name, your address, and the current date aloud 3 times. Ground yourself. You are here. Now. Not then. You do. 3 times, louder each time. The hallway shrinks back. The scent fades. The voice chokes, then vanishes in a strange, gurgling exhale, like steam leaving a kettle. Silence again. And when you open your eyes fully, all of your CDs are swinging gently on their threads, each one with a small black smear across the center, like something oily tried to crawl through and failed. You sit down. You don't cry. Not yet. But you do feel something unspool inside you, like a tether fraying. The book closes. And on the front, just below your fingerprint smudge, are 3 new words. Visitor 2, denied access. Below that, in the smallest script yet. 3 remain. You do cry then. Because of course there are more. You wake up with your face pressed against the spine of the book. Your cheek hurts. Not just from the pressure, but from the thin, almost invisible welt forming across your jaw, like paper cut you in your sleep. The book doesn't apologize. It's open again, without your help. Waiting. 3 remain. You're too tired to panic properly anymore. Fear has softened into a dull ache, like a bruise you forgot how you got. You sit up, rub your eyes, and glance at the page in front of you. A new title. The Hollow Companion, the Visitor That Watches. Underneath that, a chilling footnote. You won't know you're not alone. Until you do. So that's comforting. This one doesn't knock. Doesn't mimic. Doesn't whisper. It observes. It finds a way in when your awareness slips, hiding in the overlooked places, behind curtains you haven't drawn in weeks, in reflections that don't quite match your movements, in corners where shadows shouldn't layer like that. The book insists this one doesn't feed on fear. It feeds on attention. The more you notice it, the stronger it becomes. But ignoring it? That doesn't make it leave either. It just waits until you notice again. Catch 22, Ghost Edition. You take stock of your apartment. Something feels off already. You can't quite explain it. But you're hyper-aware of being looked at. Not with menace, at least not yet. Just a calm, patient study. Like a spider with a notebook. You start your inspection. In the bathroom mirror, your reflection lags for a fraction of a second when you blink. You don't scream. You just nod grimly, as if that tracks with your week. In the living room, the angle of a bookshelf has shifted by about 2 inches, not enough for a breeze, but enough for intent. In the hallway, a coat you haven't worn in years now hangs with its sleeves slightly parted, as if it's been used recently. You check the book for advice. It gives you a mantra to repeat. I am the observer, not the observed. Cool. You're a walking anti-ghost slogan now. Then comes the real work. This visitor can't be warded with salt or mirrors. The book instructs you to perform a perception cleanse. Here's the gist. 1. Walk through each room backward, narrating what you see, but in reverse descriptions. The curtain isn't blue. Instead of, the curtain is red. 2. Play a sound that doesn't belong, a trumpet, a cowbell, a recording of laughter, on a loop. Disorient the entity. 3. For 1 hour, wear clothing inside out and carry an object that doesn't reflect you, like a lump of coal or black obsidian. Apparently, it throws off the Hollow Companion's ability to match your understanding of the environment. So, naturally, you spend the next 15 minutes rewiring your speaker to blast a YouTube cowbell loop while you stumble backward through the hallway in a mismatched shirt, mumbling like a cursed weatherman. That's not a wall. That's not a clock. That's not a photo of my face smiling when I was 7. Ugh, why do I still have that out? It's disorienting. It works. Sort of. Halfway through your second loop, the light in your bedroom flickers once, then dies. You freeze. Because that flicker wasn't electrical. It was movement. In the reflection of your darkened window, someone's standing behind you. You whirl around. No one there. You turn back. Reflection's gone too. You repeat the mantra louder now. I am the observer, not the observed. Nothing happens. And that's worse than something happening. You sprint to the book. The page is already turning. The hollow companion has an escape clause. To sever its attention, you must give it something else to watch. An object. An idea. A looping motion. So you do what any desperate modern human would do. You grab your tablet, open a 24-hour live stream of Times Square, crank the brightness, and set it on your nightstand. Here, you mutter to the air. This is way more interesting than me. Look at the taxis. They never stop. Then you leave the room, backwards, just to be safe. You sleep on the couch. In the morning, you find the tablet dead. The screen cracked. But scribbled in the condensation on your living room window are the words. I prefer quiet. You hate how polite that is. That's the worst part. The visitor has manners. The book has one last note under this chapter. If the hollow companion leaves you a message, it will not return. But someone else may notice its handwriting. You reread that part about 5 times. Wait. What does that mean? Someone else may notice its handwriting? Your thoughts spiral into unpleasant implications. Has someone else come in? You run to your bedroom. There, on the wall behind your mirror, written in what looks like ash, in the same curling hand. 2 remain. You're doing well. Sort of. The sarcasm is new. Is the book learning your voice? Or is something else beginning to participate? You shut the book. You don't want to know what comes next. But of course, it opens anyway. Like always. The book breathes again. Not literally, though at this point, who knows, but it opens with the sluggish inevitability of something that knows you're too deep to back out. You don't remember falling asleep, but it doesn't matter. You're awake now, and the air is heavier. The temperature is slightly wrong. The pages smell like damp stones and burnt cinnamon. You wish that was a metaphor. Only 2 chapters remain. This one is titled, The Scentless Feast, When the House Eats First. Underneath, a curious phrase written in smaller, ink-faded script. Hunger does not always roar. Sometimes it waits to be fed. You don't like where this is going. According to the text, this entity isn't exactly a ghost. It's more like a housebound parasite, bound to a structure, often mistaken for mold, neglect, or just bad vibes. But it's sentient. It's old. And it's patient in the way only things older than fire know how to be. It doesn't haunt you. It inhabits your habits. It thrives on your small routines, leaving dishes in the sink, skipping one light bulb replacement, letting a single garbage bag sit too long. Each overlooked detail, it eats. Each surrender to clutter, it grows. You feed it when you stop caring. A chilling sentence stands alone in the middle of the page. You fed it when you said, I'll clean that tomorrow. You stare at your kitchen from across the room. There's an old plate by the sink. Crumbs, unidentifiable. A glass with cloudy fingerprints. That's nothing new. But now, you notice the shadows under the cabinet. They look thicker than usual. The grout between the tiles? Wider maybe? You could swear that patch near the fridge wasn't discolored last week. The house is digesting you. Slowly. The book says the entity becomes most dangerous when it starts to mimic your taste. It chooses favorite corners, rearranges things the way you would, even starts playing back the sounds of your voice in empty rooms. Which, you realize with dread, would explain why the TV turns itself on when you walk away. Not to static, but to old clips of yourself on social media. Played on mute? You hadn't noticed before. The cleansing for this entity isn't violent. It's annoyingly responsible. You must restore intention to every square inch of your living space. And not just by cleaning, anyone can scrub. You must actively remember each object, recall where it came from, why it's here, what version of you brought it into your home. Because this thing doesn't just eat mess. It eats forgetting. It starts with your bookshelf. That novel you never finished? You hold it, say its name out loud. You read a paragraph, not because it's good, but because someone gave it to you once, and you forgot who. Now you remember. It was your sister, before she moved away. You whisper her name. The air shifts. The dust lifts off the spine like it's been exorcised. You do the same with a lamp, a sweater, even the hideous salt and pepper shakers shaped like whales. They were a breakup gift. Yes, a breakup gift. You remember the awful brunch where you got them. You speak the restaurant's name aloud. The smell of burnt toast creeps in, then fades. The house exhales. You make your way room by room, object by object, fighting entropy with memory. And each time you recall something, you feel it detach. Like whatever had been clinging quietly to that forgotten part of your life now gives up, like a tick falling from skin. But it's not all success. In your closet there's a jacket. You can't remember where you got it. You can't even remember wearing it. But there it is. Soft. Neutral gray. No tag. No scent. You pick it up and instantly regret it. The moment your fingers touch the fabric, you feel watched from behind your forehead. Not from the room. From within yourself. The book is very clear about this moment. If the house begins to feed on you, you must leave immediately. Do not burn anything. Do not shout. Do not pack. Just walk. So you do. You set the jacket down like it's sleeping and back out of the room. Then the apartment. Then the hallway. The air outside slaps you with its freshness. You sit on the stoop. People pass. The sun exists. You forgot what real light felt like. When you finally gather the courage to return, night has fallen. You enter cautiously. Everything smells cleaner. Like lemon. Like regret. The jacket is gone. In its place, a folded note. It's not in your handwriting. You remembered enough. But not everything. Beneath that, a single thread from the jacket. It pulses once. Then dims. You flip to the next page of the book. There is only one chapter left. And this one has no title. Just a blank page. You turn it again. Still blank. Then, words begin to form. Slowly, in ink that seems to write itself. We are nearly finished. But before you close this book, you must answer one question. Who invited us in? You freeze. You don't remember. You want to say you didn't. But the night you first found the book, how did it get into your apartment? You don't remember buying it. You don't remember borrowing it. You certainly don't remember clicking anything online that said, "Haunted medieval texts for casual users." A soft creak behind you. The book glows faintly. You're not alone anymore. You haven't been for a while. The book is open. But now, it writes to you. No hand, no quill, just letters sliding onto the parchment like morning fog across a pond. And they spell out your name, not your screen name, not your common one. Your real name, the one you never use online, the one only old school records or your childhood doctor would remember. It pulses once on the page, then vanishes. The next line appears beneath it. You were the final chapter. Okay, deep breath. You've come this far. You've outlasted the whispers, the mirrors, the antique recipes involving grave wax, and even the possessed furniture with a taste for bad posture. Now, the book says it's time to finish what you started. The final ritual. It's written in Latin. You don't read Latin. But the book now includes phonetic guides, as if it knew you wouldn't. Helpful, really, for a malevolent ancient text. Kind of like having a demon with a customer support department. The ritual is simple. You must speak a phrase aloud while walking the perimeter of your home, every wall, corner, doorway. Backwards. That's the catch. If you walk in the wrong order or skip a step, they don't leave. They settle. Like sediment in your lungs. The phrase? Domus revertetur ad assa ius. The house shall return to its bones. Kind of poetic. Kind of terrifying. You stand. Your body feels heavier than it should. Not in a, you ate too much spaghetti way, but like gravity is pressing only on you. Like something in this house wants you to fail this walk. To stumble. To forget a corner. You begin. You pass the living room, tracing the walls, murmuring the phrase with increasing confidence. Domus revertetur ad assa ius. The air bends. You feel it. It's not wind, not AC, more like pressure. Like the house is holding its breath. You enter the kitchen. Your fingers trail the edge of the counter, brushing past the spot where that crumb-filled plate once sat. It's clean now, but the tile beneath your feet shudders like an animal refusing medicine. You keep going. Hallway. Office. Closet. You pause there. The jacket is gone, sure, but so is the space where it once hung. It's like the wall forgot to exist there. Just a blank gap of drywall where memory used to breathe. Domus revertetur ad assa ius. Almost done. You back through the bedroom. Your bed, which once looked inviting, now looks staged. Like a photo from a real estate listing, but one that blinks if you look too long. Last corner. The lights flicker. The smell of something wet and distant swells. Like a basement in a house that doesn't have one. You finish the chant. One last time. Domus revertetur ad assa ius. A long silence. Then, from behind you, a sound. Not loud. Not harsh. Just a soft, crumbling. Like paper folding into dust. You turn. The book is closing itself. Its pages fold shut with the softness of sleep. The gold clasp locks. Then, it just sits there. Still. Innocent. As if none of this happened. You don't touch it. You just stare. And after a moment, it fades. Not disappears, fades. Like chalk in the rain. And suddenly you're tired. So deeply tired. The kind of tired that comes from remembering too much. You lie down. Not because you want to, but because the house now feels emptied. Like a theater after closing night. Like it wants you to rest. And maybe, just maybe, it's safe to. But before your eyes shut completely, a whisper brushes your ear. Not words. Just breath. Something leaving. Or something pausing. Because as you'll realize later, nothing ever really goes away. It just waits for the next person to read the book. And guess who still has the dust print of it burned into their floorboards? You made it. And maybe that doesn't sound like a big deal. But it is. Because whether or not you believe in ghosts, in cursed books, in houses that chew on memories and mutter your name when you're brushing your teeth, something came with you tonight. And now, with a slow breath and a quieter heart, it's letting go. Let yourself sink back. You're still here. Whole. Awake, or almost. The lights, if any remain on, feel softer now. And the shadows? They're just shadows again. Harmless. Patient. Empty in the good kind of way. Maybe your room feels warmer. Or cooler. But definitely calmer. Like something that had its claws in the corners finally slid away. Or maybe it's still nearby, but uninterested, for now. That's the thing with old stories. They don't vanish. They settle. Into floorboards. Into old books. Into the way you double-check your closet just a little more slowly next time. But tonight, you're safe. You're heard. You're home. And whether this whole tale was truth, dream, or just your brain giving your bedtime playlist a little extra spice, you survived it. Which means you're stronger than whatever that house held. Than whatever the book remembers. Than the next reader might be. So, take a last deep breath. Let it out slow. Unclench your jaw. Ease your hands. Let the hum of your fan, or the gentle nothing of your room, wrap around you like fog curling over still water. And sleep. Sleep knowing that the book is closed.